Good morning. Welcome to breakfast this Monday with Sally and John.
Now, with temperatures rising, you might be tempted to go for a swim in the great outdoors, but finding somewhere clean to swim isn't easy. It says isn't always easy. Well, just isn't easy.
Yeah, we've been reporting, haven't we, over the last few months. Well, now the government is announcing 27 new bathing sites in England. But before you get too excited, it doesn't necessarily mean they're clean. Our environment correspondent, Jonah Fisher, is at one of these new spots in Yorkshire for us this morning. Well, Jonah, come on, you've got to join in.
Oh, well, I can't swim every week. It becomes boring if I swim every week. But I have got three very intrepid people who have promised to go in. So I'm joined by Kathy, Ruth and Emma. Big smiles on their face because the River Nid here in North Yorkshire has been designated today as an official bathing water site. You're about to jump in, but apart from being on telly, why are you here swimming in the water?
Just a great way to start the day. Yeah, enjoying the beautiful water is lovely.
And you can't beat a place like this to swim.
No, you're right. It is absolutely right. You jump in. We're going to talk a little bit over here. So designation doesn't mean the water is clean, as you explained. It means that there will be a testing regime in place between May and September by the Environment Agency. They will come here and check on the water. Now, the Environment Agency run a big network of testing, and I was invited to their testing centre in Exeter to see how that all works.
It's the start of the bathing water season and I'm here at Jaywick to take a sample.
The Environment Agency is in charge of testing England's bathing water.
The bottle is now labelled up for identification at the lab.
From May to September, it takes samples at more than 400 locations. They're all sent to a laboratory near Exeter, and we were invited to take a closer look.
The samples have to be tested within 24 hours of being taken in order for it to work properly. So all through the night, couriers have been delivering these bottles of water here so they can be analysed first thing in the morning.
Bailey will be passing a known volume of water from that sample through a filter such as this one.
The outcome of the tests here determines whether the bathing site is rated excellent, good, sufficient or poor.
We're looking for two different types of bacteria, E. coli, Escherichia coli, and another group called the intestinal enterococci. And they're used to indicate the levels of fecal pollution, poo, in the water. That pollution could have come from different sources, humans, farm animals, birds, dogs. And the higher the levels of that pollution, the more likely it is somebody could get ill through using the water.
Last year, 96% of the sites met the minimum standards, but there was an increase in the number rated poor and a fall in those rated excellent.
27 new bathing sites have been announced today, and most of them are along rivers. But before you reach for your swimming costume, bear this in mind. Designation is based on whether a site is popular with swimmers and whether it has facilities like toilets nearby. It does not mean that the water is clean.
So this is Wolvercott Mill Stream at the north end of Portmeadow in Oxford.
This bathing site was designated 2 years ago and ever since has been rated poor. But for campaigners like Claire, the Environment Agency tests are vital, focusing minds on how to clean up the pollution.
If a designated bathing water site fails, then the water company and the local authority and the Environment Agency have to work together to improve that water quality. And we wouldn't have had the investigation, we wouldn't have the promises of upgrades we've had if we didn't have this designation.
We didn't bring our budgie smugglers with us today.
This family drove from London for a picnic, but with the water rated poor, opted to stay on dry land.
We've got a 3-year-old, so again, it would be the perfect place for him to have a little swim, but probably not.
It's a dilemma many families may face if this turns out to be a hot summer.
Okay, ready, stand by. And to speak to some of the campaigners who've been involved in the process of getting this designation, David, you are from the the NID Action Group, aren't you? Firstly, good news that you've got this designation now?
It's terrific news. It's a very good thing for the NID, for Knaresborough, and for these good people swimming here.
But what difference will it actually make? You'll get testing.
You will, and that's the most important thing from our point of view. There's a lot of work being done by the NID Action Group and others to do testing, but to get official testing and good results, trusted results, that we need to have the Environment Agency doing that official testing all through the bathing season and telling us what the state is.
David, thank you. Sarah Lonsdale, you're from the Yorkshire Dales Rivers Trust. Designation, but it doesn't mean that we know that the water here is clean. Do you know what the status is here?
So no, not at this point. So like David said, over the bathing season, the Environment Agency, through this designation, will be having a greater emphasis on monitoring the health of the river. So we'll, by the end of the season, so in September, we'll have a greater understanding of whether this site is actually safe to bathe in. So we don't know that currently, but we, through citizen science monitoring, we work in partnership together. Yeah, we do know that there are, bacteria in this river.
So what are the main sources of pollution into this river here?
So obviously quite a big pressure is wastewater, but at a catchment scale it's not the only source of pollution. Unfortunately the NID has a lot of pressures from agricultural pollution as well. Septic tanks are those homes that aren't connected to the wastewater network, and a lot of kind of runoff from roads as well. So we're obviously living in quite an urban landscape, and surface water drains. Any wash off from the river will end up in the river essentially.
So I suppose both of you are probably hoping that this designation will prove to be a pathway towards getting people together to talk about what needs to be done to clean up this river.
The NID Action Group really got set up because people were furious about the stormwater overflows of sewage. That's what was our initial thought. That's why we're here. So we're keen that there's a focus on not just this area, but also up the river too, because pollution flows down rivers. So we've got a river that's 50 miles long. There's a lot of pollution in it, and we want to know exactly where it is, and we've done some work to find out where it is. Now we want some action.
Do you feel like the mood has changed in terms of river health, that now perhaps at last things are being addressed?
Yeah, I think there's a much greater focus on river health, not just for people and people's mental health and and physical health as well, but for wildlife too. There's a lot of concern across the local community for the health of the river. But we are working together to investigate, like David says, the sources of pollution, but also find out solutions as well.
Sarah, David, thank you very much. And if we just go down here, well, our swimmers are coming out. Well done, you're very brave, ladies. How was it in there?
Yeah, really nice, fresh but beautiful.
Yeah, certainly refreshing.
Yeah, it's just perfect. I just feel ready to get the day started.
And critically, was it clean? Did it feel clean?
It doesn't smell bad and it doesn't look bad, but we don't know.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Well, you will know, hopefully now, because there's going to be testing all through the summer. So before you next take the plunge, you'll have an idea of what it's going to be like. But thank you so much for coming down and jumping in. And thanks also to our stand-up paddleboarders who've also come in for a paddle this morning. But if you are wondering about your particular favourite swimming site, you can go on the Environment Agency website. Those 451 sites are all on a map there for England. Just go on there. Look for SwimFo, look for your site, and it will give you a rating for what the water quality is like.
Jonah, thank you very much indeed, and well done to everybody who has been in the water already this morning. I'm so impressed.
Perfect start to the morning.
Perfect start to the morning.
Salford Quays awaits, Al.
Yes.
Go and jump in. Right,
it might keep waiting a bit longer.
It's 20 to 7.
Now, with temperatures rising, you might be tempted to go for a swim in the great outdoors, but finding somewhere clean to swim isn't easy.
Yeah, the government's announcing 27 new bathing sites in England today, but just because they're named doesn't necessarily mean that the water is terribly clean. Our environment correspondent Jonah Fisher is at one of these sites in Yorkshire for us this morning to explain more. Hello, Jonah. You've still got these people paddling around behind you.
Yeah, good morning. Did you just say the temperatures were rising? I'm feeling a bit cold here in my coat, and there are some very, very brave, it does have to be said, all women out there in the water, both swimming and paddleboarding. Yes, I'm on the River Nid. This is one of 27 newly designated bathing water sites that have been announced today. Most of them are on rivers and on estuaries. Now, what does that mean? Well, it doesn't necessarily mean, as you said, that the water is clean to swim in. What it does mean is there will be regular testing taking place by the Environment Agency from May to September. And a couple of days ago, I was invited by the Environment Agency to have a closer look at how it all works.
It's the start of the bathing water season, and I'm here at Jaywick to take a sample.
The Environment Agency is in charge of testing England's bathing water.
The bottle is now labelled up for identification at the lab.
From May to September, it takes samples at more than 400 locations. They're all sent to a laboratory near Exeter, and we were invited to take a closer look.
The samples have to be tested within 24 hours of being taken in order for it to work properly. So all through the night, couriers have been delivering these bottles of water here so they can be analysed first thing in the morning.
Bailey will be passing a known volume of water from that sample through a filter such as this one.
The outcome of the tests here determines whether the bathing site is rated excellent, good, sufficient or poor.
We're looking for two different types of bacteria, E. coli, Escherichia coli, and another group called the intestinal enterococci. And they're used to indicate the levels of fecal pollution, poo, in the water. That pollution could have come from different sources, humans, farm animals, birds, dogs. And the higher the levels of that pollution, the more likely it is somebody could get ill through using the water.
Last year, 96% of the sites met the minimum standards, but there was an increase in the number rated poor and a fall in those rated excellent.
27 new bathing sites have been announced today, and most of them are along rivers. But before you reach for your swimming costume, bear this in mind. Designation is based on whether a site is popular with swimmers and whether it has facilities like toilets nearby. It does not mean that the water is clean.
So this is Wolvercott Mill Stream at the north end of Portmeadow in Oxford.
This bathing site was designated 2 years ago and ever since has been rated poor. But for campaigners like Claire, the Environment Agency tests are vital, focusing minds on how to clean up the pollution.
If a designated bathing water site fails, then the water company and the local authority and the Environment Agency have to work together to improve that water quality. And we wouldn't have had the investigation, we wouldn't have the promises of upgrades we've had if we didn't have this designation.
We didn't bring our budgie smugglers with us today.
This family drove from London for a picnic, but with the water rated poor, opted to stay on dry land.
We've got a 3-year-old, so again, it would be the perfect place for him to have a little swim, but probably not.
It's a dilemma many families may face if this turns out to be a hot summer.
I'm joined now by the Water Minister, Robbie Moore, to talk about this announcement a little bit further. Minister, thanks very much for joining us on Breakfast News. Will designation actually make a real difference in terms of the quality of the water?
Well, we're actually absolutely determined to improve the quality of our water in our beach environments and, of course, in our river systems, which is why I've been really pleased to announce 12 new sites, including here at the River Nid, that have been designated as bathing water sites. And that enables the Environment Agency to carry out much more monitoring constantly throughout the bathing water period, which enables us to allocate resource, put pressure on, find out where the challenges are, if any, with water quality. So we can ensure that those who pollute are held to account, make sure that our water companies are putting the level of investment in to improve the quality of water, and also deal with those further upstream, agricultural runoff, and make sure that we're incentivising farmers to improve water quality so we have good rivers right across the country.
But why does it take designation as bathing water for this to happen, for the test to happen? Why can't we do it everywhere? Why can't we fix all the rivers?
Well, bathing water is all about putting a specific designation on where usage is, where more people like to go and enjoy the river and beaches and swim. So that enables that monitoring to take place so we can ensure that those sites are improved. Now, I am the MP for Ilkley, where we had the first bathing water site put on a river, and we've seen a huge amount of investment go into Ilkley to improve the river quality of the river.
Because the water
Wharfe.
quality there has been rated poor every year, hasn't it?
It has, and that's another great part about today's designation, in that we are going to be removing the automatic, or looking at removing the automatic de-designation. If a bathing water site has been consistently rated as poor for 5 years, we're wanting to ensure that that designation continues to be put in place, and we'll be looking at ensuring that that stays in situ, so that we can continue to put more pressure on those who pollute our river systems or our beach environments or our lakes, that their water quality is significantly improved.
This rating system, which the Environment Agency done, has been in place since 2015. If you look at the stats, it shows that at best the quality of water is flatlining. At worst, it's been getting worse. This last year there were fewer rated excellent, there were more rated poor. It's not a good track record, is it?
Well, 90% of our bathing water sites were classified as good or excellent last year. That's up from 76% in 2010.
Yeah, but that was before the new system was brought in. If you look back to 2015, still 90% were rated good or excellent, which suggests you haven't really improved things very much since then.
Well, actually, in 2015, the restrictions got tighter, which actually demonstrates that.
Sure, but the point is that it's the same figure, right, in 2015 as it is now, which suggests that you haven't been cleaning up the waters. At best, it's been staying the same. Last year, there were fewer rated excellent, there were more rated poor. It kind of looks like things aren't getting any better anymore.
Well, as a matter of fact, if you look at the data, 96% of rivers were classified as being sufficient. 90% of those were classed as good or excellent. That is up from 76%.
No, but you keep on talking about 2010, but 2010's a different system, right?
And in 2015, the restrictions, the criteria got tighter, which demonstrates that the data has actually improved beyond that from 2010.
Sure, but the data shows that since 2015, things haven't really got any better.
Well, I don't accept that.
The figures simply say that. 2015, 90.1% were rated good or excellent. 2023, 89.8% were rated good or excellent. If anything, it's a slight decline.
Well, over the period of time since 2010, our bathing
why do you
water
keep on saying
sites
2010?
have significantly improved. And last year, we can provide that reassurance to those that are enjoying the rivers, coastal environments, that the quality of our bathing water sites have improved since 2010, to 90% of them being classified as good or sufficient. And today's announcement, announcing another 27 sites, 12 of them being river systems, is great, and looking at consulting in terms of improving how the regulations work, looking at an automatic de-designation.
Let's look at the big picture, the state of our rivers, our seas, nationally. Water companies, they're in excess of £60 billion in debt. They've been paying out profits for a long time. You and the water companies are saying that customers are going to have to effectively foot the bill to fix these problems, to stop the sewage flowing into our rivers and seas. Why should we trust those same water companies that have got us into this mess now to fix it? Why should we give them more money when the system is still effectively the same?
Well, we are absolutely clear through our plan for water, which is about more investment, stronger regulation and tougher enforcement, that we will hold those to account that pollute our river systems, which is why we have brought out a ban on bonuses for water companies should they their company carry out serious pollution incidents, which is why we've also given Ofwat more powers to link dividends to environmental performance, and is why we have removed the cap on penalties from 250,000 to an unlimited amount for those who pollute. We will be taking an extremely tough approach with those who pollute our river systems, and today's announcement on a new 27 new bathing water sites is an element, a step in the right direction of this government wanting to take improving water quality incredibly serious.
Minister, thank you very much for coming here to speak to us on a beautiful morning, and now we'll go back to you in the studio.
Jonah, thank you very much indeed. Those swimmers are still swimming.
I thought he was going, now we'll go for a swim. But no. Right, it's 8:30.